Hello and welcome to KPFT's debate series for the 2021 local board delegate elections, where you'll hear from various listener candidates. My name is Tim Langford. I'm with the League of Women Voters of Houston, and I'll be your moderator for this program. The topics to be discussed cover key topics facing KPFT and the Pacifica Foundation as a whole, and questions submitted directly by KPFT listener members. Please note that all viewpoints presented are those of the participants and do not reflect the position of the Pacifica Foundation or KPFT itself. The program starts with opening statements, followed by a debate covering topics selected from a predetermined topic list, and ending with questions from listener members. The order of the candidates and topics has been selected by using a random sequence generator from random.org. This hour, we're joined by Joseph Davis and Sean McPherson. And we will give you 1 minute for your opening statement, and I'll either cut you off or you'll hear a bell at the 1 minute mark. So we'll start with Joseph. You have 1 minute for your opening statement.
Well, thank you. I'm glad and appreciate your participation, Tim. And I've always appreciated the League of Women Voters. My name is Joseph Davis. I actually was with the program Voices at Work. It was a labor rights program on KPFT for over a decade. And that's how I've been on the board before, as I was a staff member. And I served on the PNB during 2018, and I was on the regular LSB for 4 or 5 years. My primary concerns are the financial viability of the foundation and to make sure that we are fulfilling the LSB requirement that we do the budget and we do reports to the PNB and make sure that our budgeting is going to keep the station alive, because no matter what else we do, if we can't pay the bills at the end of the day, the foundation will not survive. So I consider that my most important purpose on being on the LSB. Other than that, I've been familiarizing myself with Robert's rules, the bylaws, and getting myself prepared.
Wonderful. Your minute's up. And Sean, you'll have now 1 minute for your opening statement.
I don't know that I can fill up a whole minute. I am Sean Kelly McPherson. I have cared about and supported KPFT since 1970. I was 12. The studio was down the street on Louisiana from my dad's office. My dad came home one day and told me the studio had been bombed. I said, well, any radio worth bombing has got to be worth listening to. And 53 years later, I'm still a listener. Made my first contribution when I was in high school. I've been certainly for the last couple of decades, I've been a regular member, contributing member, but I never paid any attention to the politics of it. But there seems to be a whole lot of politics going on now. So I'm paying attention.
All right, very good. So we'll move on to the debate format, which consists of assigning one topic to one candidate as determined by the initial random sequence. And then we'll allow that candidate 2 minutes to develop their answer. All other candidates, following the order defined by the initial random sequence, get 1 minute each to comment or ask a follow-up question. And the structure will move through, in this case, both candidates until we have addressed all of the topics. So Joseph, to you first, in your opinion, what is the most important role or responsibility the local station board has, and how should roles or responsibilities be modified to improve functioning of the local station board? And you'll have 2 minutes.
All right. It's funny, I actually have this out in front of me. This is a copy of the bylaws, Article 7, Section 3, the specific powers and duties of the LSB. And interestingly, item A, the first duty and responsibility of the local station board, and I'll read this, is to review and improve the station's budget and make quarterly reports to the foundation's board of directors regarding the station's budget, actual income, and expenditures. During my previous terms on the LSB, we were one of the few LSBs that actually successfully passed a balanced budget for the station. It seems to be something of a rarity, which is unfortunate. One concern I have is during the entirety of my stays on the LSB, then not only did we never file the quarterly reports about our station's financials to the PNB, even the PNB members didn't even ask us why we hadn't done this. And I think that this problem at the LSB and for Pacifica as a whole of not taking our financials seriously is why we're in the situation we're in today. Because irrespective of what we may love about Pacifica, if we can't pay the bills, we're not going to be on the air and we're not going to be able to broadcast anything anymore. So that is my belief that the most important duty of the LSB is in fact to make sure that the station is functioning both financially and within the Pacifica mission, which is making sure management is providing the diversity from the community and adjusting programming. We as members don't decide programming. We make sure that station management is communicating with the community and letting good programming come on that the listeners support and that provides that diversity. How much time do I have?
About 5 seconds left.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I
All right.
appreciate the question.
All right. We'll move on to we'll move on to 1 minute for Sean McPherson to answer.
Well, there's nothing to rebut there. Mr. Davis is completely correct. Budgeting has always been a profound issue for the station as long as I can remember. And I believe that the situation has become increasingly precarious, but he's absolutely correct. The first and foremost duty is to review and approve the budget and go from there, because you can't approve a manager, you can't do any of these things if you're not in business. We won't be in business if we don't have any money.
All right, very good. We'll move on to the next topic, and Sean, this will be to you. When members make donations, they are often unaware of their membership rights. Do you think this is a problem, and what do you propose to remedy it? You have 2 minutes to answer.
I do think it's a problem, but and in large part because it's never been part of the pitch. Okay, I've been listening to fundraisers for all these years, and no one has ever told me on the air that with my contribution, with my membership, come rights. It's always about, well, support your favorite show. You know, no one has ever reached out to membership on any sort of consistent basis that I'm aware of, on any kind of regular basis, to tell people that they have rights, that they can participate more than merely, calling in.
You have about a minute left. Oh, no, you're done. You have 5 seconds left.
Okay.
All righty. Then we're going to move on to 1 minute for you, Joseph. I'm sorry.
All right. I agree. When members make donations of $25 or more, they become listener members and they have the right to participate, as is outlined in the bylaws, Article 3, Section 1A. I agree with Sean. People are not informed of their rights and what the meaning are. And I think that what we need to do is probably centralize all membership into the central office and let them notify people via email or mail or whatever it is, how they joined, and let them know what their rights are. I think that's important. I'd also like to say, I don't have a lot to disagree, but one thing that Sean said earlier was politics are a lot of our problems. So I look forward, and the board is not an adversarial body. We're going to work together with each other to find solutions. So we need to disagree with them. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Well, now we'll move on to some select questions from KPFT listener members. You'll each have 1 minute to respond to these questions. So the first question that comes up is, what will you do to shorten fund drives and to make existing fund drives more interesting? And Joseph, we start with you for 1 minute.
Because a lot of it deals with the financing of listener-sponsored radio, and I emphasize listener-sponsored. Because if we get big giant donations from board members, which has been suggested, or foundations. And those board members or foundations will now have influence over the programming. What makes Pacifica Pacifica are the pledge drives. The way to make the pledge drive shorter is to increase our membership. We at one point had 12,000 members in the Houston area. Now we're down to about 2,500. There's no reason other than the fact that we do nothing. If you go out and talk to people on the street, why do you say KPFT is a great thing? Have you heard it? They go, no, what's that? We don't put up billboards. We do nothing to let the listener community, people who are sitting on the freeway in their car, could be tuning in and giving us a try. And almost everyone who tries KPFT likes it and continues to listen to it for a long period of time. So our biggest problem is we need to increase our total listenership, which then, because if we have 4 times as many people listening to Pledge Drive, the drive will raise the same money in 1/4 the amount of time. That's it.
Great. And Sean, you now have 1 minute to answer that question as well.
Other than expanded membership, there isn't a way. There isn't a way. If you're going to be listener supported, there isn't a way to shorten that. The problem is one of demographics. We are a radio listenership generally, and Pacifica's particularly, is an aging demographic. And we have to find some way, and I'm not here to tell you I know the way, but we have to find some way to expand to a different demographic. You know, my kids are in their 40s and 30s now, and you know, they curate their own music, you know, and podcasts. They stream everything. There's got to be a way to do that.
All right. And on that note, I'm actually going to kind of ask a question out of order because it goes along with what you were saying. Do you have any ideas that can generate new listeners and market, and how could KPFT market to younger audiences? And Sean, you will have 1 minute to answer that question.
Well, I've never known how to get people to scroll to the left-hand side of the dial. They're either inclined to do that and they'll find us, or they're not inclined in the first place. But I do think that we could be more visible. I have long been a proponent of live and remote broadcasting. You know, be it at the for instance, we've had booths at International Festival and things like that. You know, that's where people can see you and say, "Oh, what is that?" and go from there. Plus, I really like the live remote broadcasts. I've enjoyed those a lot when they've been around.
All right, thank you very much. Joseph, you have 1 minute.
I've been to so many KPFT events where we've tried to raise awareness of the station. And what I've seen at those events is we can get hundreds of people in a given day to become more aware that KPFT exists and tune in. And that's a good thing. Unfortunately, when we do 3 or 4 events a year, we're only touching less than 1,000 people in a year. And when our membership has dropped by over 7,500, that's just not going to work. And if you think about a billboard that sits on the side of the road that 100,000 people a day drive by, and even if only a tiny percentage tune in and give us a listen. And I realize there's a big objection to this because it's like having to pay big corporate media to give us a billboard space. But that's what we need to do to survive, because that's where people mostly listen to radios nowadays, is in their cars, either to or from their jobs. And I think that's the solution. And unfortunately, it's a little painful, it's a little old-fashioned, but it works. Drive around Houston, you're going to see radio station billboards everywhere. Thank you.
All right. And we're going to go on to the third question is, how can we resolve to work? How can we resolve to work together for the betterment of KPFT? And for this question, Joseph will give you 1 minute.
All right, I had to unmute myself. Thank you. Actually, I think Sean kind of hit on this originally, was politics is where we get into trouble, is the political things, because programmers, we by bringing programmers in, these are people who have fantastic ideas, very charismatic personalities, great missions, and they're very influential. And they make great shows. Where when we did our labor rights show, that was good. The trouble is they care more about their specific issue than the mission of Pacifica, which is to bring in many, many diverse voices from the community. So we tend to have this problem of people putting their personal interests in their personal show ahead of the greater interests for the foundation. So what we need to do is approach the support of programmers and people's interests, that by keeping the foundation alive, we support them, and hopefully they can see the wisdom of that and come on board and support the greater Pacifica Foundation that will then support their shows and their interests.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
And John, you have 1 minute now.
Well, the politics that I was referring to aren't. I was not referring to KPFT. I was referring to the Pacifica at the national level. I mean, this whole warfare between New Day Pacifica, and I mean, it's just we're eating ourselves. Okay, and that may just be reflective of politics at the politics writ large, nationally. I don't know. What was the other part of your question?
Well, you got about 15 seconds. How can you resolve to work together for the betterment of KPFT?
This is going to sound trite, but it takes people of good faith.
All right. And so we're going to move on to our fourth question now. 1 minute, we'll start with Sean. What are the strengths and weaknesses of KPFT's programming as it stands today?
This again is probably going to sound trite, but it's diversity. In all the years I've listened to everything from telephone remote from Liberty Hall to the prison show, to late at night Vietnamese language programming, to you name it. There's something here for everybody if you look, and if you don't see if you don't see that, you can actually go try to make that happen. If every show we have, somebody had an idea, whether it's Connect the Dots or Irish Airs or Joe's Roadhouse doing live remotes from, on a Saturday afternoon. Somebody had an idea and made it work.
All right. And Joseph, you have 1 minute to answer that question as well.
I agree. Our strength are our volunteer programmers, because they come in with passion for their topic. The prison show cares about people who are involved with the incarceration system here in Texas. Pan-African Journal, Arab Voices, People of Earth. Sean mentioned Irish Airs, Connect the Dots. These are powerful shows. Our weakness is we don't do enough by station management to bring in new shows. That's one. The third point of the question, I believe, also asked, what should be the LSB involvement? A lot of people get on the KPFT LSB thinking they're going to get to dictate programming. That is not our role. Our role is to evaluate station management and making sure they are doing their job of making new programmers available to come in and do their job and to support the existing programs. Thank you.
All right. And now you have each 1 minute to make your closing statements. Joseph, you'll go first.
All right. Well, thank you. My closing statement is I'd like to thank Sean for participating in this. I wish more people had showed up. Also, you mentioned that politics, everybody wants to point the finger at somebody else. I've been around the station physically at the station for over a decade, and the politics are right here at KPFT, right here on the station board and on the PNB. They're everywhere, where they start here and they go up. And actually, again, I agree with Sean. We need to have people of good faith who are willing to walk in the room and listen to other people's input and put real ideas on the board and be able to hammer out deals without just being I want what I want and there's nothing else that's going to work. So I think that if we get new people on the board and people who are not invested in some other interest other than the welfare of the foundation, we can get good people that will work together and do good. That's it. Thank you.
All right, John, you have 1 minute.
If the station's going to survive, we've got to work together. We have to, and I'm not saying I have all the answers, because I don't, but I know we need to find some answers, and we're not going to find those answers unless we work together. Whether that's, well, it's budget. I've spent 20 years on the board of Harris County, what used to be called Harris County Protective Services for Adolescent Children. It takes money to make programs of any sort, radio or otherwise, happen. We got to find a way.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. And thank you for listening to this debate series for KPFT's 2021 Local Board Delegate Elections. My name is Tim Langford. I am with the League of Women Voters of Houston. I've been a moderator for this program today. We were joined by Joseph Davis and Sean McPherson. And we want you to visit elections.pacifica.org if you have any questions, and to file a ballot request form. And make sure you cast your ballot before 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is 10:59 p.m. Central Time in Houston. And that is October 15th, 2021. I'm Tim Langford. Thank you so much for joining us.